Continue a tenth of a mile. Continue straight on Bridge Road, Connecticut 82.
We crossed the Singing Bridge one afternoon in late February, searching for adventure. Listen, can you hear it sing?
Continue straight on Bridge Road, Connecticut 82.
It seemed like the perfect metaphor as we were transitioning from the end of winter to the beginning of spring. We parked beside the river to take in the sights and watch a small airplane take off from the airfield on the other side. A thick cloud cover set in as we pressed onward to the tiny town of Chester. A blip on the map, but my favorite kind of blip. A square block of cute shops, restaurants, and even a brewery set in the middle of nowhere. We walked the cheery streets, smelling delicious food wafting from the restaurants, and peering into the windows of shops. We walked to the end of town, to a small park, which was home to some of the biggest hawks I have ever seen. Their wings were so large, we could hear them flapping as they flew overhead. We made one final stop that afternoon to another park which was nestled beside the river. And though a cold wind blew, it carried with it the feeling of spring. Just as twilight approached, the clouds parted slightly and the golden light from the sun shone through. It was a beautiful way to end our little February adventure, watching the sky fill up with glorious, vibrant color. And that spring feeling followed us into the next day when it warmed up to nearly 70 degrees. What little snow remained was melting, and it seemed like a fitting way to ring in March. For much of New England, March is mud season, a time when the earth transforms from white to brown, a time when the weather is constantly fluctuating. And in some ways, it's a time of limbo. We slowly begin to spot little signs of spring, but winter is still holding on. The temperature is constantly changing. One day it's 60 and the next it's 25. One day all the snow is gone and the next day there's yet another storm. Mud season is a time of year I typically feel stuck. I'm ready for the warmth and color of spring. Creatively, I feel stifled and uninspired. I begin to look for the sure signs that spring has arrived, or is at least on its way. As a creative, it can be terrifying when the ideas aren't flowing. Ideas are not only my livelihood, but they're what fuel me. They light me up, get me excited, and keep me going. When my creative well is dry, my motivation and even my hope dry up. But what can you do? When Mother Nature teases you with the promise of spring, but you know it's still a month away, you just need to suck up the cold a little longer and keep plugging along. Bathed in the gold of the afternoon light, surrounded by its warmth and the sweet aroma of wet earth, winter felt at an end. But Mother Nature had other plans. A few days later, the snow was falling once again. We had experienced yet another fool's spring. And by the following weekend, it looked like we were back in January again. But it was March, and I had started seeing small signs that spring was coming. The first sign I always see is the return of the robin. You'll spot a flash of their red breast late in February as they hop across the ground. I love watching these cheerful birds forage for worms. They'll hop a few steps, pause, cock their little heads, and then, quick as lightning, their beaks will pierce the earth, and they'll pull from its depths a long, wiggling worm. I'd come to learn that when they cock their heads, they're actually listening for the worms. They can hear them moving under the grass. With the golden sun setting on the first weekend of March and fresh snow covering the earth, it was a typical beginning of a true New England spring. And then I got word that something big was going to happen.